Rock the Ripple. Rock the Ripple. The Rock the Ripple podcast with Nereeda Mcinnes.
Let's do this. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rock the Ripple podcast. I'm your host, Nereeda Mcinnes. It is so awesome to be here with you as always. And today is another very exciting day because I have a very special guest on the show. He is a freedom activist, a public speaker, a content creator of natural law and morality, a father, and so much more. He is an all-round awesome human. He is the one and only Will Keller. Will, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Oh, it is so cool to connect with you. I actually, I came across you a little while ago, and it was through the first Sky to Earth conference with Madeline and Dale, and I just heard you speak, and I was just, gosh, this guy's awesome. So, and now we're here connecting. So, for people who might not know you or haven't come across you before, can you give us the rundown? Who is Will Keller?
Excellent. Yeah, no, sure thing. I'm a guy. I'm a guy that loves nature. I love discovering just insight on how reality operates. And then these are attributes that I've had since I was a young kid. I was raised on a ranch, so very close to nature my whole childhood. And there was a mystery and a magical essence of nature that I took with me into adulthood. And got into the music industry in my 20s and early 30s. And now I'm well into my 40s. And I probably been on a 10-year journey of self-discovery for myself, and then branching out into different facets of knowledge and wisdom and applying that. And, really getting a grasp on what's going on in today's world, the current human condition. And I pretty much jumped it off by entering into occultism about 10 years ago. I consider that the jump off of my journey of higher awareness, and then coming across some great minds that added to just what's going on in the world. So applying that to myself for self-improvement and wanting to take action and make a difference in today's age with everything that's going on. So that's who I am. And I'm a father. So of course, spending time with my daughter is on the top tier of my time and attention. So I love doing that. Love watching her grow, seeing the correspondences between her and myself, right? There's nothing better than seeing a little mini me and seeing her develop into her own creative expression. So
How old is she?
She's 10 years old.
Oh, wow. That's gorgeous.
Yeah, her name's Violet, after my grandma.
Mm-hmm.
And she's fun. I call her my little sidekick. So we do a lot of stuff together. She's been with me on public speaking engagements.
Really?
She likes to draw me when I'm on stage. It's hilarious. And then she adds little bubble comments around the pictures and stuff. And then she'll give the pictures to people. So she's something else. She always blows my mind.
Wow, that is so cute. I love that. I could just imagine just a mini Will just running around. Yeah, talking to people saying, have you thought of this?
Yeah, she's very, very deep for her age. She's kind of always had this really grounding effect of just knowing who she is. Probably homeschooling and having a really good connection with her parents and grandparents and family members. She's not seeking validation of, cultural ideologies. She's very much grounded within herself. And I've learned a great deal about myself through her. So it's definitely a blessing.
Children can be our biggest teachers. And I know too that you said you had that sort of turning point into occultism around 10 years ago, and your daughter's also 10. Do you think that was sort of a bit of a springboard, or is that more of a coincidence, or had you already looked into stuff before that as well and it just was that turning point?
I've always been into mythology and esoteric information, even when I was very young.
Yeah.
Even playing video games, I was into fantasy and mythological games themselves. There was something about that genre of information that was extremely attractive to me. But when 10 years ago, the reason why I got into occultism is I was in a very dark period of my life. And I wanted to know what made me tick. So I wanted to learn more about my psychology and how I function and operated. So I was looking for that self-knowledge. And ultimately that led me, from consciousness into the mystery traditions of occultism. So a variety of them: Hermeticism, Rosicrucianism, Freemasonry, Thelema. So all these mystery traditions. And I started seeing some correspondences between them all. They all have different variations of techniques and practice, but they have similarities in the laws of nature. And that was where I really honed in my focus. And it wasn't until I discovered the work of Mark Passio, where he takes this body of information and he aggregates it and synthesizes it into a very palatable sense and then applies it to the world. And that was mind-blowing. That was the big aha moment of taking this information and what does it mean? Hundreds of years of knowledge, but what does it mean for today of what's going on in the current age and the current time? So that was a huge light bulb moment. And then, once you have a correct diagnosis of what is going on, what is actually going on, then of course the moral obligation to take action weighs heavy on oneself. So it's good, like yourself, you're taking action, spreading the information of freedom, and it's very important. So
yeah, it absolutely is. And and Mark Passio too. I remember years and years ago, I was listening to a video somewhere, and I remember him speaking, and for some reason I forgot his name later, and it wasn't until I saw him again later, and I was just like, I knew then I needed to hear that guy again, because he was making sense, but it sort of blew my mind at the time. And then, obviously hearing him speak and so many others along the way, it just it really opens your eyes and it gives you that perspective shift. And it's not like it's a remembering of what you already know, isn't it? It's a coming back to what you already know.
Well said. Absolutely. I say that often. It's not about learning something new, right? There's nothing new under the sun. This information has always been here. It's about discovering and remembering it, and then aligning our perception and our actions to nature, right? So it's a remembrance and to reunite. Right. And that to me is where the crux of kind of where people need to go and start to consider. I love meeting new people that are discovering or have discovered natural law, the laws of nature. That's why I was really blown away to meet Madeline and see the Sky to Earth conferences and see this huge group of people on the other side of the planet that are into natural law and taking action. It warms my heart, and I live for that kind of stuff. So it's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So what about for someone who maybe just hearing the term natural law or coming across it for the first time, or maybe, know a little bit about it, or universal law? How would you present that to them in a simple, because one thing that you're bloody good at, and that is just simplifying sometimes what can be so complicated and big picture. So for someone who's sort of, coming into it going, okay, tell me more about natural law. How do I align with that as well? What does that mean?
Excellent. Great question. So there's a couple prerequisite. Well, first, let's talk about the definition, right? I like to define words. Words have definitions for a reason, right? Their original vibration. And this is kind of a big psychological psyop that's going on in the world today, that words are relative and they don't have meaning, and it's whatever we say it is. But as soon as we get into that realm of relativism, then communication goes out the window. So like you said, I love to simplify the profound. So let's define our terms. So we have natural law. The word nature is Cometian, ancient Egyptian, right? It's spelled NTR. It's pronounced netcher. It means creation. That's what it means. Creator, creation. That's the actual definition. So natural is of, from, or related to creation. So a lot of people go, okay, yeah, I get that for sure. Then we get into law. The correct definition of law means that it is an unchanging, immutable, and binding condition or dynamic. So this is the correct term of law. So we put them together. We have the laws of creation, right? The laws of nature. So they're non-man-made, immutable, universal, binding to all human beings. These are the governing dynamics of reality. This is what it is. So, but the framework that needs to be understood before that is reality itself. And there's definitely a big push. You can see this in the New Age communities about reality is relative, right? It's based on perception, that there is no such thing as objective reality. So this is the framework that needs to kind of be discussed, right? So we're getting in the philosophical area, which is important, right? We have philosophy for the love of wisdom. This knowledge is fundamental. So when we think about reality, reality absolutely 100% is objective, meaning there's one reality. We are co-creators. We're sharing this experience together in this reality. Our perception is the lens by which we view the world, how individuals interpret the information of their experience. So this is really important. When you have relative reality, it's very dangerous. It's an extremely dangerous ideology, because if we're all individually creating our own realities based on our perception, well, then you have no truth. You have no right or wrong. People can make up whatever they want. They can believe whatever they want. They can act however they want. So there's no right or wrong. Mm-hmm. And also there's no lying. There's no harm. So you see where this goes, right? It goes very deep, but yet it's simple. Mm-hmm. So, but with objective reality, and a lot of people can relate to this. Most people are raised, it doesn't matter if it's public schooling or homeschooling, people understand the physical laws of the natural world. Don't drive your car off the cliff. Don't jump off the cliff. Don't touch a hot stove, So we have gravitation, thermodynamics, motion. We have all these physical laws that most people understand, but yet there are first principles. There are laws that supersede the physical laws, because as a lot of people know, and I'm sure you'll agree, that this physical reality is really just energy and consciousness, right? This is a manifested reality. The density is way more dense. So getting into the metaphysical realm is extremely important. So when we're talking about natural law, we're talking about the metaphysical laws, the energetic, based in consciousness. Why is this important for humans? Because ultimately natural law is like a mirror. So it's cause and effect. Ultimately, there's more to it. So if human beings don't understand the governing dynamics or laws of reality, then we don't know how to correctly operate in reality. So our current human condition, one of tyranny, control, slavery, duress, coercion, right? This is all happening for a reason. And it's because there's a lack of knowledge of understanding how to correctly operate in reality. So this is why natural law is so important. It gives us the condition, the manifested condition from the energy and the state of mind that human beings are in. And this works in an aggregated sense, right? When you think of what I'm describing is actual karma, right? So karma is not instantaneous, right? I do something bad, I steal someone's property, and then I get hit by a car right away. That's not how it works. There is individual karma, but it's throughout a lifetime of buildup of energy. But on the aggregated sense, now we're talking about a huge species. The karma, absolutely, it manifests in the collective itself. So as the majority of individuals operate in reality incorrectly, meaning immorally, they're taking the wrong actions due to incorrect thought, then we are going to get a condition of control, duress, slavery. So everything that I just talked about is the crux, is the heart of the matter of what occultism is. Occultism is just simply hidden knowledge, but what is that knowledge? It's the knowledge of how reality operates, natural law, and how human psychology operates, which is also natural law. So it's such a big category, yet we can fine tune it to the fundamental basics of, thought and behavior. So as we think, so we feel, and so we act. So due to incorrect thoughts, we're going to have incorrect behavior. And this is where, perception is powerful yet dangerous, right? So we have beliefs. What is a belief? A belief is just a dogmatic thought function that's not really based in factual information or based in truth. If it was, it would be a knowing. We would know something. But belief is you have to believe in it because it's dogmatic. So yet, believing or knowing something, that information affects judgment and behavior. So this is why this body of information is so valuable and so important. And when we think about what's going on in the world, right, we need to get down to the causal factor, the root of the problem, the biggest and most important question, which is why? Why is this going on in the world? Why is this happening? And it's because there is incorrect information that's being propagated, and people are holding on to incorrect information, and thus it dictates their behavior. So they're taking immoral actions. They're supporting and condoning government and all these immoral institutions.
Yeah. And that would come back to ignorance, and not in you're an ignoramus, but it's just not knowing. That's what it means, doesn't it? You're ignoring, or speak to that a bit
Exactly.
more, because you're across that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Let's talk about this will tie in with it, the three prerequisites of wisdom, right? So ignorance is the absence of truth. And when we talk about truth, it's not about, oh, my truth, her truth, your truth. There is just the truth. The truth is simply that which is. So that which has manifested, or that which is manifesting. So when we talk about the truth is natural law, because it is the cause. So ignorance is the absence of truth. So yes, we can come to know the truth of reality. We can come to know the truth of what is going on in reality, right? The current human condition. So the next prerequisite is knowledge. Knowledge is the accumulation of truth. So we are gathering all the information that is based in truth. It is correct. That's what correct means. It's based in truth. So we're gathering all that information and that knowledge. And, just because somebody knows something doesn't mean they understand it. So understanding is gathering correct information, correct knowledge, right? And then taking that knowledge and applying it to oneself. So wisdom is the application of truth. So it's knowledge applied. So it's not what you say, it's what you know. That's the good old fashioned quote. So ignorance is the ultimate sin. And I mean that as, excuse me, sin as in opposition to nature. This is what sin is, not like the cultural Christian sin. So ignorance is the primal fallacy. So the majority of people need to highly consider where they get their information from. And in an age of deceit and lies and manipulation, the majority of people get their information from the mainstream news, social media, all different types of outlets, but yet they're missing that fundamental foundation of natural law, of self, of nature and reality. So their discernment and their judgment is off. They're not able to discern lies from truth.
Yeah, and that's so important. And I think as well, like when we start looking into this sort of stuff, like it is an unraveling. It is like we said at the start, it's lifting off the layers and taking off the goggles and seeing things for what they truly are. And sometimes it can be confronting for people to really see that actually this whole world's been a little bit upside down, and what we've learned isn't quite true. And like you said as well, occult simply means hidden knowledge. So occult isn't bad, it's just it's hidden. So when we bring that to the forefront, then the more of us that understand or know what natural law is, then we're shifting consciousness, we're rippling out that knowing on such a bigger scale. And that to me is how we change the world, and obviously first and foremost doing the work within as well. And I think you speak a lot about that too. I think that's so key and vital to wanting to see us bring about change as well. Would you say that too?
Oh yeah, 100%. The change must start within the individual, in the mind. All change must occur in the mind, right? And this is the first principle, the first law of natural law is mentalism, meaning that the all is mind. The universe is mental, just as the individual, that's on the macrocosm, right? In the microcosm, the individual mind is prime, is first. So it has to change in the mind first. Our internal ecology is vital. And just as, the knowledge of food, right, and water is a part of objective reality. Like water is a part of objective reality. Every human being obviously is 75% water. We need water to survive. It doesn't matter if someone doesn't believe in that. It's a fact. It is truth. So our internal ecology, meaning our internal environment, our state of mind, our emotional stability, and our actions. This is the threefold aspect of the very essence of a human being. This is what separates us from the animal kingdom, is that we do have higher order thought functions. Unfortunately, the majority of people don't have that higher order thinking activated. So, a lot of these topics seem very woo to the average person. So this is kind of part of my technique of trying to simplify this deep information, because the truth of the matter is this knowledge of occultism, it's a double-edged sword, right? You can use it for higher awareness, higher consciousness, freedom, morality, or one can use it for egoic purposes and for control and manipulation. So the knowledge itself is neutral. It all depends on what one's going to do with that knowledge. And this is where we're at in the world, is that behind the veil, the social engineers that are pulling the strings of society, controlling and manipulating, they know this information extremely well. And, all the distractions and the psychological operations, this is all to distract us from really ourselves and putting in that work to discover natural law. Because natural law in reality and within ourselves, it's one and the same. It's tethered, it's tied together, right? Cause and effect. So it's very important that we get down to the fundamental, which even the word fundamental means, the first level. The first mind, the first layer of mind. These are first principles. So yeah, no, it's extremely, extremely important. And it's quite the task to try to educate people, which really, I like to use the term inspire, because unfortunately we can't do the work for other people.
No.
Everyone needs to begin this journey of self-discovery and self-actualization. So we, as content creators, what we can do is understand this information for ourselves and activate and inspire others to look within themselves and change their mind.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think for some people that is a hard thing to do, because it is it's so far out. And I mean, not only looking at the stuff in the world, but looking at the parts within that we don't always want to look at, because that is tough stuff. It's looking at our trauma. It's looking at the bits that we don't like about ourselves, the not so sexy stuff. And then, of course, like you said as well, that having this knowledge, then having it is using it. You can use it one way or another. You can use it many different ways, but it's like any tool. You can use a pen and you can write the world's best novel, or you can use it to stick it in someone's leg, like
Mm-hmm.
it really is a tool, and we get to choose how to use it and how we'll show up. And obviously, for the people like you and I and who we connect with, we want to make a difference and we want to do that, but we have to start within. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm.
This is this is the ultimate solution, right? I mean, there's a
Mm.
lot of people that talk about, oh, cryptocurrency is going to save us. We just need to just branch off and create our own communities and just ignore government institutions and all this kind of stuff. There's only one solution, and that solution is understanding the fundamentals, the most important information, which is natural law. And as more people understand this information and align their actions with morality, objective morality, and take action, now we start to see the tide turn, applying cause and effect, right? We start seeing an immoral society start to switch to a moral society. And we will see the effects of that. And that will be entering into a more free society. Slavery and control will start to eliminate. But yes, like you said, it takes courage. It takes courage. It takes vigilance and persistence and looking at the dark aspects of oneself. It's epigenetically ingrained in our DNA through generations and generations of trauma. And
Mm.
it's extremely difficult for people to look at themselves literally in the mirror and ask them, why do I believe what I believe? Why do I hold these beliefs? And it's brutal. It is brutal. I think, and this is part of my message too. I like to go to all different types of alternative media and explain that there is a core solution. There's a prerequisite that must be met for any change to occur, and that is knowing objective morality, natural rights, and natural law. Because from there, in every facet of society, this applies, right? It's like we're not going to have a financially free market if people don't understand right or wrong. We're not going to have an ethical agricultural market or category if people don't know right or wrong.
Mm.
So it's organization and cooperation and organizing these systems that are harmonious with nature and that align with the principles of freedom and morality is a must. And that's why it is called first principles, right? First things first. It's the foundation. Without that foundation, the house that we build is just going to crumble down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I often say that it's the foundation is key. It is key for anything that we're doing. But yeah, to understand that and really know it, and also allow yourself to be okay with not knowing everything and be open to learning. Like, I think that can be just so empowering in itself. Like when we start to look at what's going on and within and without, like we really can be humbled, I think, because we just go far out, man. I don't know jack shit about a lot of stuff, and I think when you're open to going, okay, what else can I learn here? Show me what I can learn, let the wisdom come on in. And when you open that door, you might see things that you don't want to see, but you also see things that you become more empowered because you know yourself more and you realize how freaking powerful you are as well as a being and a creator.
Exactly. Absolutely. This is something that I've learned with my daughters. Kids go through the why stage, right? It's like usually like around 3, 4, 5 years old, 6, and they start asking you, why this, Dad? Why this? Why that? Why that? And it's such a great opportunity to literally tell your kids, well, I don't know why that is. Let's go find out. And you're stimulating critical thinking because you're activating that archetype of the seeker where you want to learn. And this is extremely important for for just human beings in general. I mean, this is what we're here to do. This is a, the universe is a university. We are here to evolve and grow, and evolution is based in freedom, right? Freedom and evolution are the same thing. If we don't have freedom, we're not evolving. So if we have slavery and control, we are devolving, which means we are, we're stagnant. And this is the case now. Now, yeah, there are people that have gained a greater awareness, especially over the last 3 years, with some of these major events and in the current major events as well. So there's a lot of people that are seeking information. This is where the context of that information is vital, is important, right? If we're talking about the effects and, this is what's going on in this event, and these are the theories and the alternative suggestions, we're not getting down to the cause of why this is going on and how do we create change. So absolutely, learning is where it needs to be. We need to seek the truth first and then apply it to ourselves and then speak the truth. So, and I get asked a lot of questions, and, no questions off limits for me. And I don't have a problem with saying, I don't know. So, and I think that's something that a lot of people can kind of learn from is, we don't have to have all the answers. That's not the point. But we can have correct answers. Doesn't have to be all of them, but we can have the correct ones.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that so much. I mean, and how can we know everything anyway? Let's be honest. We live in an infinite reality. Like how will we know everything?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, nature is the ultimate mentor. All the secrets to knowledge, to evolve, to build a fantastic society that is evolving, even technological, right? We can do this by understanding nature herself. All the answers are there, and so she's the ultimate mentor, and that's something that we can inspire to. I mean, we're talking about nature's perfect order. When I say nature, I'm referring to natural law. It's one and the same in my book. It's a system. It's a self-organizing. It's a perfect system that operates. And what this means for human beings is that it manifests the reality that we are mentally constructing through our actions, right? This is kind of what a lot of people need to understand, is that this is how manifestation works. It's based upon actions, right? Because this is what an action is, an act ion. Act is to perform, and ion is energy. So we are performing the energy, right? So this energy, it influences the environment and has an effect. Now, of course, our actions are based upon our thoughts, right? Our thoughts, then our emotions, and then our actions. So we can look at the emotions as a compass, energy in motion. This is what emotion is. It's a compass to guide us, to kind of regulate the direction that we are going mentally, and it's a powerful tool. So I love it. I love diving into the secrets of nature. So that's my point: is nature is the mentor.
Yeah, nature absolutely is a mentor, and I love that too. And with the work that I do, I help people to reprogram their subconscious mind, which really the crux of it is we're changing the patterns that were there, because like you said, it's our thoughts that then create our action. And if we're having thoughts that aren't in alignment with our highest potential and the frequency of what we want to emit, then when we're not going to be able to create what it is we want to create. So it starts there as well. And when we tune into nature and natural law as well, like it's just, I mean, I say it so many times, we are so freaking powerful. We are so freaking powerful. So when we align with truth, and when we align with what it is that we truly want to create, well, that is where the magic happens, isn't it?
Yes, 100%. And this is another reason for, all the distractions. They need these distractions. This is why it's speeding up, and they're kind of hitting really hard with a lot of distractions over many, many years. I mean, I think the jump off was, 9/11, what was a huge ritual that kind of was them coming out and saying, okay, this is the new transition, the new time period of the new control system. And they need these distractions because they understand that human beings, we are a lowercase c creator. We have that ability to create. They don't have that. They're not activated in that higher level of consciousness to create. So they just manipulate. They steal. They invert. That's their biggest tactic. Is they invert everything. That's really their ultimate agenda, is to control perception, to manage perception. And then the individuals that have the incorrect perception, then they obviously, their behavior is controlled. So it's perception management and behavior control, but they invert everything about nature, which is deception, right? The inverse of truth is deception, because they know how powerful human beings are. So
yeah. And what better way when you can't create yourself to get the creators to create what it is that you want to create through manipulation and inverting everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, you nailed it. Yeah, 100%. So that's kind of a hard part for a lot of people, right? I mean, you talked about doing the deep shadow work, the subconscious work. This is where it's at, to rid ourselves of these erroneous habits. This is where our habits lie. What we do on a day-to-day basis, the consistent thought patterns that one has. This is where we need to shine the light of awareness onto, because a lot of people are just oblivious to their own thought patterns that are rooted in their subconscious mind. So that work is very important. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And something else that you say when you're talking popped into my head. I love that you say this because I'm so the same. You're the student and the teacher. You're both, because we're always learning and we're always growing. That's how we avoid being stagnant. That's how we avoid just being, not growing. And I love that you say that, because there's so much out there for us to take in and really learn from, isn't there?
Absolutely. Constantly the student and the teacher. That's the dynamic, right? I mean, to be an educator or to be a quote unquote teacher, and I say this even for leaders, right? I have a problem with the word leader. I mean, of course, context matters, but what does a leader do? A leader leads. Well, that implies followers. We don't want followers, right? Just as a teacher doesn't really want students. A teacher wants to inspire students to become teachers themselves. So that's what a good teacher does. A good teacher creates or inspires more teachers. So it's the yin and yang, right? It's the polarity, the balance that's always there. And, I'm learning from you every day. We can learn about ourselves. We can learn about the world. And it's a good state of mind to be in. It definitely balanced. We can see, and the scale of teachability, right? When you have an imbalance of teachability, you're in, at one side, you're in, full skepticism where you don't believe anything. And on the other side, you're full of arrogance where you know everything. So as you start to pull into the balance, into the middle, you have high teachability. It's like a bell curve, right? So that high teachability is the student teacher dynamic, where you are slightly skeptical, meaning that you don't immediately subscribe and accept an idea, but you are also willing to change and learn. So that's the balance right there, the student teacher dynamic. And this is something in my, my conscious parenting presentations. I talk about the student teacher dynamic. It's really important for parents to apply that and understand that, especially today in the world. I think, the knowledge that we can learn from young children is vast, and the programming and conditioning hasn't hit them yet. It's not really ensconced and ingrained into their subconscious. So we can see, young kids, right? They don't see skin color. They'll play with anyone. Their imagination is fully activated, which the imagination is the highest essence of creativity. You have to see it to achieve it. So, so many people, their imagination is just it's deadened. This is why freedom itself is so scary to people. Oh gosh, like how are we going to organize and come together and create a free society? We need a control structure to tell us what to do, to build the roads. It's like, come on, this is lack of imagination. So the imagination, this is what is, keeps us connected to the higher force of creation. And little kids have this fully activated. It's beautiful. So yeah.
They do, don't they? They do. And I love what you said about balance too, because I know, and I'm sure you can relate to this too. We've swung so far this way sometimes, we've swung so far that way. And in order to know balance, that helps us to come to that place and to be able to stand there. And I like what you said about having that bit of skepticism, but also being, there to be able to do both sides as well. And the conscious parenting stuff, I think that is absolutely so vital right now, and has been, but just more and more and more, because like you said, the kids, they don't have that conditioning yet. And I mean, they might have brought in some ancestral stuff, who knows, but that is where, as a conscious parent and being awake and aware and knowing how to answer questions and how to allow them to express themselves and keep using that imagination of theirs, that we as adults, really, it is vital, like you said as well. Like I've heard Bob Proctor say, it's the best nation in the world, your imagination. Like it really is. Everything starts there. Everything starts there, and we need to nurture that. And as adults, we have a responsibility to keep that alive in our children. And that is something that you do a lot of work around, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's a passion of mine. I do think that this is the heart of the matter, because if we just think about it logically, if our current human condition is one of control and slavery, right, and the reason for that is incorrect thought, right? The people that have the incorrect thoughts and are taking the immoral actions and supporting the immoral actions, they were raised that way. So there's incorrect parenting going on, and especially in the young children, the formative years, because from 0 to 7, the formatting years really lays the foundation for the subconscious and the operating system for the human being itself. So with the majority of people not being raised correctly, and if this continues, then it doesn't really matter the ones who have awakened and how much action they take. If parents are still raising incorrectly their children, right, then we're just playing catch up. It's just we're not going to be able to get to where we want to get to. I mean, this is what raising a child is. Raising, it's not simply providing for, like, oh, okay, well, my kid had all the toys, food, water, shelter, etc. Those basics. That's not what raising a kid is all about. It's about raising their awareness. A child is a fractal of ourselves, right? So it's an extension that's supposed to expand and go further in awareness than us. This is what evolution does, right? So our children, the generation coming up, should set the bar higher for the human species in awareness, consciousness, spirituality, and just life in general. And we're not seeing that. We're seeing that it's progressively getting, unfortunately, worse, in my opinion, due to ideologies such as solipsism and relativism, moral relativism. So it's conscious parenting is absolutely where it's at. And I talk about the objective principles of conscious parenting. And, this rubs people the wrong way, because, parents don't really like to hear that they should do something, or their parenting style is incorrect. And the 3 objective principles are: you need to teach your kid objective morality, because objective morality is learning right versus wrong. So how to act in the world, which also is natural rights. If you don't know what your natural rights are, then obviously you can't defend them. So this is extremely important. So objective morality, natural law, the governing dynamics of the natural world, of reality, and of oneself, and the trivium method, which the trivium method is trivium. The word means the the threefold path. So it's the three ways of truth discovery. This is critical thinking.
Mm.
The trivium method, which was originally known as the classical liberal arts, has been completely removed from the majority of schooling systems, right? The indoctrination system, and it's, kind of been lost even for homeschoolers, unschoolers, charter schools. It's a certain body of information, and that is grammar, logic, and rhetoric, right? Or knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. So it's learning how to think, not what to think. So these three principles, I obviously dive, in very much detail in many of my presentations. These are the three objective, meaning that all parents need to understand these three principles and educate their children on them. So,
and yeah. And I just, you saying, teaching people how to think, not what to think. That is massive. That is
Absolutely.
massive, because I think everyone in this has gone through the system. It was being taught what to think, not how to think, and that in itself is just massive. That one little gold nugget, and so I guess, with what you're doing with the conscious parenting, I mean, like I said before, it's vital. It's vital. And we as adults, whether we have children or not, we have a responsibility to understand this as well, because we're interacting with everyone, our community, and we all play a role. We all play a part, don't we?
Yes, 100%. And our children are the future. Right? They are the future. So what's that future what's the context of it? Are we going to have a future that's rooted in higher awareness, truth, and morality? Or is it going to be, more of what is going on, of deceptions, lies? I mean, there's some pretty horrible ideologies, communism, socialism. This is on the rise tenfold. The younger generations are ushering this in so intently, like they want this. They've, like you said, they've been told what to think, and in these indoctrination systems, they're propagating these ideologies, completely. And this is, due to lack of parenting, because this is what government and its institutions represent. They represent the proxy parent. Right. So this is why socialism and communism is so prevalent nowadays. They want to be taken care of, because the majority of parents have lacked spiritually. Right. I mean, and spiritually is all encompassing. Right. I mean, the physical and spiritual, they're talked about as if they're separate. It's all one domain. Everything is spiritual. Depends to what degree. So the lack of morality, truth, and spirituality in the family dynamic is what sends these kids headfirst into the current culture and these institutions. So, I mean, this is why, pre-K, kindergarten, these type of systems were created. It never used to be kindergarten and preschool and daycare, 50 years ago, 60 years ago. That didn't exist. They're with their family. They want their kids, the social engineers want kids as early as possible to start that indoctrination, and to grab their attention. So it's the more time with the children. Our current modern culture, right, is obviously the strong arm and, the mouthpiece of tyranny. They want the minds of children, because if they have the minds of children, then their parents don't have their minds. And freedom always starts in the family dynamic, right? The family dynamic for a young child, this is their first taste of a structure of what the world, life, and society is all about. It's that fundamental structure within the family that's going to set the precedence, or lack thereof, of how to operate. So freedom absolutely always starts in the family dynamic. And then that's the question, right? Do parents understand what true freedom is? Do they understand what natural rights are? That a right is any action that does not initiate harm. And so this is all encompassing of the objective principles that parents must understand for us to do the slow crawl out of tyranny and slavery.
Because it really does come back to the one principle: do not harm. Is this thing that I'm about to do, is that going to harm anyone? And harm can be a lot of different things too, can't it, Will? Like it can be with what you're saying, it can be the actions, it can be if someone tells you to do something and then you do it, you're the person doing it, so you are still creating that. You're the person taking the action. So
Correct.
the responsibility does lie with you, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a great point. I call it the trinity of sovereignty. So there's three principles. The first one is the sacred feminine dynamic of non-aggression, meaning every human being owes everyone one thing. They owe them one thing, and that is non-aggression. Do no harm. That's what every human being owes each other, right? Non-aggression, the non-aggression principle, the sacred feminine. Number two is the sacred masculine, and this is self-defense, meaning if you are aggressed upon, you have the right to defend yourself. So with these two principles, the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine, they come together, they have the child, which is self-ownership. One that understands the first two principles and takes and owns themselves. They take ownership of their responsibility, their thoughts, emotions, and actions. They take accountability for their behaviors and what they create, what they say, and what they put out into the world. So that is what sovereignty is. Sovereignty is the king or queen, sovereign, ruler of one. So you rule yourself. So this is the trinity of sovereignty. And, this is the foundation. Like, how many people, this is a good topic for people to kind of ask individuals on the street or just basic topics. Does someone know what the non-aggression principle is? Does someone know what the self-defense principle? And, unfortunately, a lot of people do not. And this is the education that we need to kind of propagate to the public.
And speaking of education, I mean, you have got, like, technical term, shit ton of resources that people can tap into. What are some of the topics that you cover? It's all natural law that comes down to that, but there's so much people can get from you. And when people don't know where to start, I think sometimes people go, wow, there's just so much to take in. Where do I start?
Yeah, absolutely. The main categories that I focus on in my personal work is, of course, natural law, morality, metaphysics, which metaphysics is natural law, and conscious parenting, and also the tech. And I'm going to do a lot more of content and presentations on the technological age that we are in, because this is vital for people to understand that if we want to get a message out to the public, because this is what we're trying to do, we're trying to get more minds to understand natural law and morality and then align their behavior. As we do that, then we can start to turn the tide. But how do we get that message out? And it's using the technology. Technology is a tool, and it's increasing at a steadfast pace. So we need to understand that it's not like back in the day where we just go out into the corner and the public square and we can convey a message. Like, you could do that. You might have 10 people, 20 people. If you plan it, maybe 40 or something like that. But that's not effective and efficient. We need to utilize the tech. And this is the realm. This is the battlefield. Because if you think about the social engineers and what what realm are they using for control and deception and lies? It's the tech. It's social media. It's all these platforms. They're using the tech, digital currency, all this kind of stuff. We need to educate ourselves on the technological realm and use it as a tool. So that's a big category that I get into. As far as my personal work on where people can start, I always recommend starting with my presentation called The State of Freedom, what it is and what it is not. That's a really good place where I kind of simplify the fundamentals, and then people can go from there. Obviously, the first presentation for conscious parenting is vital for parents to understand. And my video podcast, my partner John Rowland at the time, we created Natural Freedom League, and we have 77 episodes, some fantastic guests on there. So people can go through there. There's a lot of good knowledge and resources, and download documents and PDFs and all this kind of stuff.
And I love that. And this has been accumulation of 10 years worth of work and study and self-reflection and self-learning, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. 10 years strong into seeking. And I'm 4.5, actually coming on 5 years of actually going public. So being into the public, creating my own content, almost 5 years now.
Can we talk a little bit about that? Because I know,
Sure.
like, as someone too who is, you're putting yourself out there. Was that a bit of a shift and a bit of like you had to have a bit of courage to do it, or you're like, no, I'm ready to rock. I'm doing this. Like, how did that sort of feel for you? Because I know that some people, it's talking out. It might not be necessarily having conversations like we are, but even just being able to have the courageous conversations, at the family barbecue type thing,
Absolutely. Yeah, it was twofold because I was in the music industry for, a good 10 years where I traveled the world. I'm on stage. I did hip hop. So I've been in front of hundreds of people and, having that on stage present, but then retiring and, starting to become a father. I had many years where I stopped doing music, and I was actually very much anti-technology. To an extent, of course, during those 10 years of seeking, or 6 years of seeking knowledge, I'm getting my knowledge from technological means, right? The majority of us that have kind of awakened up to what is going on has watched YouTube videos, BitChute. So we've used the tech to increase our awareness. That's where we get our information. But I didn't have a TV. I wanted to homestead up in the mountains, in the woods. I was pretty much just like F society. I just want my books, get all my hundreds of books with me. And so I was in this kind of, this anti-technology state. It wasn't until Mark Passio was really going hard in a certain time of his life where he was really fed up of the lack of action, and he was just bringing the fire. And I really started to do some really deep soul searching, and the moral obligation to speak out just weighed heavy on me for a couple years. Right. I feel like I kind of started late to when I should have started. So then finally, I just said, all right, I got to get in this. So brought my music equipment back out from storage, got my microphone, dusted it off, and started with an audio podcast. So I think this is something that, people can consider, is that starting is the hardest part. Breaking that inertia. Right? If inertia is just being completely still and stagnant, breaking that inertia and creating momentum, and even small momentum. So for me, that was an audio podcast. I wasn't ready to be on camera yet. So I started an audio podcast and did, I think I did like 8 or 9 episodes, and then quickly moved into video podcast, where I was having discussions with people from Facebook and all over, like-minded individuals, and then creating a video podcast, and then slowly learning as you go. Having taking the first year of the How to Become the True Media course
Mhm.
from Mark Passio obviously had a huge impact on me on educating myself and getting back up to par on modern tech and utilizing publishing skills that kind of, springboard myself into, a different realm.
Mm.
So you start small and build up.
Yeah.
That's my advice for people.
Absolutely. And I mean, because you don't go from here to there anyway. You just with anything, it's
Exactly.
just it's one step at a time. And I think it's great that you say that and that's how you slowly build your confidence as well. And that's how you learn. And yeah, sure, you'll probably fall on your face, but then you just get back up again. Like, how does a child learn to walk? They fall on their face, they get back up again. We as adults, we
Yep.
get to do that too. So doesn't stop just because we've grown a bit taller.
Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
And you got to have thick skin. And
Mm.
I'm a very silly person. Like
Uh-huh.
I like to be silly and fun, and
Yeah.
I do not care what people think. If someone, if I get some negative comments or whatever, I love criticism.
Mm.
So, but I don't take it personal.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of have this F off mentality of just like, I'm
Mm.
just going to do it. Like nothing to lose. Just get out there, start at a certain spot and
Mhm.
evolve as you go. Cause like you said, how do we learn how to drive a car? We get
Mm.
behind a wheel and
Yeah.
we start slow. I mean, this is how we learn anything. We have to be internally motivated.
Mm.
And this is where true learning comes from, the internal motivation. So educating ourselves and starting.
Mm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no. Oh my gosh, I could talk to you all day. Is there something on your heart right now that you really want to share that maybe we haven't covered or want to reiterate or anything like that?
Hmm. Such a great conversation. Trying to think. I've been revisiting. Here's kind of a theme that a state that I'm in. I just
Mhm.
had the water presentation, so I'm doing
Yeah.
an extended version of that on December 12th to the public. So that's going to be fun. But in the very beginning of my journey to higher awareness, it started with water.
Mm.
So I'm starting to revisit these older topics that I, kind of came across 10 years ago. And that's been really fun and interesting to have, a fresh pair of eyes and at a different level of awareness, revisiting certain topics.
Mm.
So that's kind of the state that I've been in. And I think that's good advice for people is to um, take notes and revisit those notes. I mean, and I'm like old school pen and pad.
I'm with you.
When I'm working or I'm driving, I'm writing down notes. I just have binders full of notes, which I wish I did it like on the computer where I had them better organized. But revisiting topics that you have in the past and
Mm.
then looking at that and analyzing that, because a lot of people still they hold on to bits of information that they've learned and they think it's self-evident,
Mm.
right? So revisiting topics and going, oh, wow, I can't believe I subscribed to that back then. That is incorrect. And
Mm.
see what you have taken with you throughout the years. So it's kind of like it's just a synthesis. It's a distillation of awareness is what I like to call it. And that's
Mm.
kind of the mode I've been in and making some new presentations. So
Yeah, that is so cool. And I was privy to that awesome water presentation that you've done. So I'm so excited that you're going to do and expand on that as well. Like, I mean, there's so much we could go into with the water, isn't there? And well, I
yeah.
love what you said as well, too, like going back and looking at stuff. I mean, sometimes I think of it like a montage. Sometimes I look at myself back in my life and I go, oh my gosh. But like it's also seeing how your level of awareness and consciousness has shifted. And
Yes.
it to me, that is just beautiful. It's like, wow, like I talk about it a lot with different people. It's just every time we come back to something, it's sort of that spiral. It's like we have this new level of awareness and perception, and we like, wow, I get that on a deeper level now. I
Hmm.
understand that on such a deeper level now too. And things that you might have missed as well altogether. You're like, oh wow, is that what that meant? And that kind of stuff I think is just so powerful, and that's how we're forever learning. That's how we're forever growing.
That's what, yeah, that's
Yeah,
what it is. This is what the spiritual path is all about. It's a spiral.
yes.
So the visual, it's like a spiral staircase. And what's
Hmm.
interesting, if anyone's ever been on a spiral staircase, is that you can look over the staircase and look down and see the spirals that you have ascended up already, right? So that's kind of what we were talking about. It's looking back and having that self-reflection of where you were and where you're at now in the present moment. And it's got profound effects. Absolutely. Even creating content, looking at my older stuff when I first started, it's like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of looking back on it and you laugh at it and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But practice is where it's at. And I implore people to get on the battlefield and start putting that time and attention to create action and to integrate and converse into the voice of truth and freedom and morality. We need to amplify this message as much as possible. So we need numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. And you know what else I think, as you're talking about the spiral, um, it when we do this work, we also allow for compassion. We allow for wisdom. We allow to be humbled and we can really tap into where other people are at so much more. And because we've walked through that path as well, and we're still walking it, obviously. But I feel like when we do this, I don't know. I think that just brings our heart can expand so much more. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, we have to have compassion and a certain level of acceptance. And I do not mean, I'll clarify that by saying
Yeah.
not accepting the tyranny and the immorality of the world today and by other people, but understanding the acceptance that some people are not ready or they're not going to hear you, mainly your family. I mean, this is a common thing. Usually the last people that we can influence is our family members because they have a preconceived notion of who you are and they just tune you out. So, if your awareness has increased in any given topic and you try to convey this to them, a lot of times they just kind of block you out or they brush you off. So it's understanding that especially in the area of content creating and getting this message out, it's focus on your work and the energy that you put out, that vibration, your creative essence, that vibration is going to resonate with people, and the magnetism of that radiance will attract them to you. So it's not about, oh, I need to get this person to understand what I'm saying, or I'm trying to get these people to understand what I'm saying. It's focus on your craft and your message and your work, and they will come to you.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah.
I love that you said that. That's so true in everything. I love that because when yeah, and that is also coming back to being who you are, being true to yourself, and you will attract the people who are meant to be in your life and that resonate with what you have to say. And that is how we do it. That is how we do it, isn't it?
Exactly. We're creating the ripple effect, right?
We
Rock
are.
the ripple.
Well,
This is what it's about. We are the rocks that we throw into the ether, creating the ripple of vibration that's going to spark the minds and hearts of other people to take action within themselves. That's what it's about.
yeah, yeah, I'm into that. That's awesome. Well, I could talk your face off and I would love to, but you might need a pee or have some food, who knows. So for people now, where can they best find you? How can they tune into you and just get more of Will Keller?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. willkeller.com. It's a good website. I got all my social media links up there. Send me questions, emails. I try to respond to everyone. I'm willing to help out, give recommendations, give insights. My presentations are on there. So that is definitely the hub, willkeller.com.
Yeah, that is awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. And I want to say thank you as well for you at home listening. If you're at home, you might be walking at the beach, who knows, wherever you are. Thank you so much for tuning in. So appreciate you being here as well. But Will, just thanks again for being here. Oh, and by the way, I've got to do this. If you haven't subscribed or liked or left a review, do that as well. Always forget to do that. So do that too. But Will, thank you so much. Oh, the puppy's there. Awesome. For people who are listening to this and can't see the video, there is a puppy on. Who is this again on the
This is
screen?
Pocket. He's usually always on my lap when I'm doing either a presentation or an interview. He's a Chiweenie, so he's a Chihuahua Dachshund,
Oh,
and
cool.
yeah,
Look at him.
he's my other little sidekick.
Has he been there the whole time?
He hopped down just a few minutes ago and he came back up. So,
Oh, see, he knew it was the end. He wanted to say goodbye. Oh,
yep,
Pocket.
exactly.
Pocket, you're awesome.
Yeah,
That is awesome. That is awesome. Will, Pocket, thank you so, so much for being on the Rock the Ripple podcast. I'm so grateful for your time and your knowledge and everything that you do and share with the world. So thanks again for being here.
it's a pleasure. Thank you.